Should get a notification. There she goes. Alrighty, cool. Okay, again, thank you so much, Faye, for being here. I'm really excited. I enjoyed the new record in a way that I haven't enjoyed a lot of stuff this year that I thought I would, in a way that it was a very full experience. Like at no point is it thin or is it minimal, which is like I like those things too, but the way that you layered production is just insane. I really appreciate the oral experience that it ends up providing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, of course. So first question, more about just project you. And forgive my ignorance, is Trust Fund Ozu a reference to the filmmaker?
No.
No.
So, yeah, so that is actually there's the filmmaker. What's I forget his first name. Um, Yasujiro Ozu. No, but that's the only famous person with the name. But the name is actually from an anime called the Tatami Galaxy, and there's this character named Ozu who is like, can I use curse words?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, he's like a little shit. He's like a little goblin that like um causes trouble for the main character in the show. And so I kind of when I was first trying to come up with a moniker, I liked that concept and character. Like he's like a yokai, if you know what that is, like just a, a goblin kind of guy causing trouble for people trying to do life. And then trust fund just comes from I thought it would be funny to try to add like a wealth based um for, part of the name in front of it, just to like be kind of ironic for anyone who knows me and just the subject matter of my music and the way it is very the opposite of boastful.
Sure.
I thought that was kind of a fun thing. And at that time, I also found out I have the same birthday as Rich Homie Quan, who is a
Oh,
rapper.
wow.
And so I was kind of thinking just a funny thing to put uh, that was ironically related to wealth.
That's rad. And much, yeah, much more detailed and honestly way more you than, a reference to the filmmaker. That's badass. And I love the way that you highlighted that it wasn't not necessarily humble, but the opposite of boasting. The way you get into some of the subject matter is just like the way that you would hear it in rap, like elevating these stories, but in a very unique way. But we'll get to that in a little bit because I definitely wanted to like dig a tiny bit into that in the time that we have.
Yeah.
But for the background on like this album in particular, um, did you find that these songs came together on the same time, like in sessions for this album, like as after your last one, or is there stuff that's like kind of from the last one too?
I think the oldest one is from the beginning of 2022. Um, so basically right around, or I guess a little before end of 2021, the beginning of like when I was finishing on my last album, Tribute Summon, and going into the release of like after all of that. But I kind of went really hard in like the first half of 2020. I guess all through 2022, and then first half of 2023
Oh
was like
yeah,
that. It was all through 2022, and then 2023 was when we had it mixed and stuff, and it was like post production and stuff. But it was all pretty much all written in 2022. Um, maybe like one. I think the title track is actually the oldest track on the album, and that one is from the tail end of 20, right before Tribute Summon came out. That one is pre Tribute Summon, and then the rest are all post Tribute Summon.
interesting.
2020.
Okay, yeah, I love that song too. The self-titled or like, yeah, the song "Fade Out" I think is the one that I ended up not because it's my favorite, but it's the one that I listen to the most and like will repeat the most because I love the way again it highlights that contrast that we're talking about, like where you switch to the hot girl shit and
Hmm.
it's just so good. I really appreciate, oh fuck, this part is supposed to be optimistic. That's such a good line, and like the perfect timing too. So where it's like, in addition to all the production, there is kind of like this comedic timing that's happening too. That's really
Thank you.
dope.
Yeah,
Of course,
that song, I think it can kind of partially is it sounds intentional, but partially like that's one of the few songs on it that doesn't have like a kind of like rock slash punk metal kind of edge. And because I think part of that is because it was still in the tribute summon world, which is cool. I
yeah.
feel like, and I think I did like the first half and the second half, like something like really far apart, like 6 months apart or something.
Okay, that makes sense
Which is
because yeah,
cool.
some of it is very much in the more rock traditions. I guess it's still very much you, but like some of the stuff
There's
on
some cool
the
guitar part. There's like a weird acoustic guitar chop
yeah, and
thing. Yeah.
solos and stuff in the
Mhm.
background.
Yes.
So that kind of brings me to the next point too. Is like when you were doing, I guess, these sessions or even the one that song originated from. Do you have any particular objectives, or are you just trying to have fun and see where those flows go?
Sometimes there's objectives. Um, I'd say one of my main like songwriting techniques is to like take what I would see as like the theory information or like the actual music stuff and the actual notes and combine it with like the vibe of another song I like. So it
Okay.
might be or like a sound palette of another song I like. So taking like just trying to figure out the chords from a song that I really like and then trying to like morph it into a style of another song that I really like. So it might be like a super um like a cinematic like something I might hear from like in like a movie and try to figure out the chords, but then make it into like a if I'm listening to like a hyper pop song or like a weirdo like JPEG Mafia experimental hip hop song or something, I'll try to like take the melodic information and put it into the like soundscape of something else I like so that it becomes a mishmash. And then by the time I have those two things, it just sounds like it's like has a life of its own.
I see. That's cool. And I feel like that's just something that is definitely born from like a love of production. So I was going to ask this a couple questions ahead, but I wanted to ask you, like, how would you describe your relationship with your DAW, like with your workstation itself?
With Ableton,
Yeah.
uh, I
Like, do
love
you
it.
love it, or is it something that you see as like an external instrument, like you have challenges that kind of take you out of the songwriting, or is it something
I
that
love it. I'm very much I find to be in the DAW is where I'm the most comfortable. I have a lot of musicians and like uh people I play in bands with are just my friends that are very like I can do the DAW, but I have to get going at some point. Like I have to be on the instrument at some point. Or like they can only do a DAW for a certain amount of time, which I get. But I think especially with Ableton, I just it's can be so freeing and just like I guess it's like an instrument where it's like when I first started playing drums, like it felt like more of a more like a psych. You have to psych yourself up to do it. Then once you do it enough, you're like, oh, I can just go in and like go on autopilot a little bit, or like have more of a create more of a voice with it. So um, I like Ableton. The cool thing about Ableton is you can change the color of it. So like if I'm bored, if it's pink and I'm bored, I can just make it green and I can just make it all these different colors.
it's cool how
um,
that has an effect, though.
No, yeah, like literally, I'll just be like, "Oh, new song. Like, what color do I want it to be?" And I'll you can change the colors of Ableton. So I'm just like, let's make it fiery red, or let's make it like pale pink or something. But um, yeah, I am most comfortable in the DAW. I think just as far as like I write in the DAW a lot because I think it makes it kind of makes up for a lot of my like things I see as shortcomings or like things that I can't do on an instrument. So
That's really cool. I mean, you probably know a lot of people, or have heard at least of many people doing really the same thing with like what was that software? for a long time there was like guitar tab software that you'd write like Save Us from the Archon would like write these crazy riffs on their software and then spend time trying to learn them and get up to speed and stuff. And so I think if people can like get over whatever weird hump that is mentally, like, oh, these guys wrote it in a weird computer program, I think that writing in the box is really cool and like a very modern thing to do. But the reason I asked that is because both on Tribute Summon and this album, there's it's so consistent in terms of like certain frequencies are so pleasing and like present, and not in a way that it's like stagnant, but I'm like, okay, these like lower synth frequencies are like perfectly meshed where I can like go from one album to the next album and feels like very much not necessarily related, but like a big sequence. Is that intentional in any way where it's like kind of a big old sequence for the little Ozu character, or is it just kind of like fallen?
I would say it's more just the same thing where you have like an artist that finds the bass tone that they like and then uses.
Sure.
I think it's more just the sounds that I gravitate towards. And also shout out to Angel Marcloid, aka Fire Tools, who mixed and mastered both those albums. She takes a lot of my everything I produce and finds the right ways for it to go into the frequency space and stuff. So that's definitely a part of it. But I would say it's more just like I like the sounds that I like. And
That's
there's definitely
cool.
like there's times where I use the same bass patch or there's the same
Sure, it's like the same guitar.
yeah, the same there's definitely the same dive bomb samples on a couple or like same electric guitar weird VST things I've figured out.
Yeah, I wonder how many times like how many times did Pantera record guitar scratches, like and several times per song, like they must have been at least a temptation to be like, dude, we did that last record. Can we literally just like go grab the tape and snap that again?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and
There's
I've
definitely
done that, but it's
I use dive bomb guitar samples on a lot of my songs, and there definitely are the same dive bomb guitar samples on multiple songs.
valid,
Because
valid
if
though.
I'll
You
be
know,
like, I need a dive bomb here, and then it you just need a dive bomb. What dive bomb it is isn't always that big of a deal. You just need a dive
word.
bomb.
I hear that. And then I guess that's a perfect sort of transition to this is kind of a funny question, but on this album, once again, of course, you worked with Angel Marcloid. You also worked with Ben Levin again. So I wanted to ask, being that you've worked with both a couple times, who would be the better first contact for aliens coming to Earth?
Holy, that's a good question, specifically for my two of my close friends.
Who is better? Like,
I think
aliens are coming off the ship and they're gonna reach one of them. Who should it be?
I think then I think Ben would be fine with me saying Angel, um, because Ben is I feel like Angel would just have a very like I feel like she's ready for it. Like I'd be fine with that. Like she would just have a grounded way to make them feel comfortable. Um
Or
and like Ben I feel like would be more friendly and more like over like super sweet, but we don't know if they would respond well to that.
sure.
So I'm just gonna go with Angel because I think she would have like a very welcoming presence to the aliens. Not that Ben wouldn't. I'm picking between them both for aliens
I
specifically, but
understand.
this is assuming that I don't know the type of aliens that they are.
Right.
Like
Yeah, no one knows.
if it's all the kind of aliens, I think that's my choice. I think I'll go with Angel.
That's a great choice. I have a signed Bentley poster from Ben. It has a few of their signatures, but Ben, it's so hard to describe. It's like balls coming off of a squid in the sea, and it's got another little monster with a gun pointing to its head. And
Wait,
the
that's the
bird,
signature?
yeah, I will take a picture and send it to you because I just put it up on the wall and I can't move the cam, but um it's either the best or the worst Ben Levin signature for sure.
Sounds
And
like the
then
best.
Yeah, Courtney also put a lengthy curse on it. Like if she made me cover my eyes as she was signing it and wrote this big old thing about how if I peeked, my kids would get syphilis and a bunch of shit.
That's adorable.
Yeah,
Not the syphilis, but just the fact that she took the time to do that. That's so
it
nice.
was. Yeah, it's a great gift that I have from what that was a Shiny Eyed Babies tour
That's
long
a long
ago.
time ago.
Yeah, that was just a crazy time in life. But
Oh, that's so cool.
oh, well, so yeah, that was what I was gonna ask you. After that, was we were gonna get into the DAW, but we kind of went over that. But one thing about in the DAW though, I'm curious if it's changed at all over the years. As a drummer, do you enjoy programming and sampling drum parts, or do you despise that?
I love it. I think it's I don't want to sound like a drummer, but I guess there's probably drummers that are listening.
Yeah.
Um, for the way that I spent so many years trying to be like a really good drummer. And so like that was like I made it even before when I was in high school. I made it like my full time job. Just
Oh
every
wow.
time I wasn't not full time, but just like it was my life. It was
Yeah.
like that was the way I thought my musical journey was gonna go. Was through the drums, and so I spent so much time, and so I think like the way that I hear drums specifically, like drum set, is super much from a drummer's ear, and I feel like that makes it so when things like that a lot of people wouldn't notice, like if just like hearing someone play drums and the snare drum isn't always the same dynamics when they want it to be, like specifically for like a backbeat they want it to be the same
Mm.
dynamics and volume every single time, but it's just like just the way humans are. Your arm doesn't do it exactly every time you do it. It moves, it's different a little bit, but that's why I love programming so much, is because it's just like there's no variance in the things. So I feel like now I feel like I have a good balance with it, where I really like when things are inconsistent and the human touch of things, and I really like when things are super on the grid and quantized. But um I think for a while I got really frustrated um with drums, specifically like drum set stuff, just because I wanted the sounds I wanted to hear were like program sounds. I mean,
Mm.
we're just like super, that's like inhuman sounds. But I never really wanted it to be like inhuman drum set, because I feel like the beauty of a lot of that is the human part. So I feel like embracing both worlds is where I found to be the most comfortable.
I feel like the drums in the first song are maybe a really good representation. Is it Zaza or it's just like
Zawa, yeah.
yeah, Zaza? It's like it reminded me. I think I said this in like the write up. Is like at a very particular. I think it's March of the Pigs from Nine Inch Nails. There's
Yeah, yeah,
this
yeah.
like that is where one of the first songs where I became aware of samples. Like that whole Downward Spiral
Oh
era
yeah.
was like a huge sampling masterpiece thing. And I, over the years, I continue to discover new things about it. And when I first heard the opening song for the record, I was like, this definitely takes me back to the time that I was like raising my eyebrows in high school, like, holy shit. Because the consistency of that snare, particularly, and
Mhm.
like those really intense kicks too. And I think he did a really good job with the kicks, particularly because the kicks are where I think a lot of people cut corners in terms of dynamics because it's a bitch to program them no matter what you're doing in terms of
Yeah.
MIDI, but a lot of like the higher frequency stuff for like rock specific mixing is that's where a lot of the attention seems to go. But anyway, yeah, none of the kicks seemed like uh super out of place to me, and I don't know, I really liked the consistency. The whole production on the thing is
Thank you.
flawless. I love it.
That's something I'm still constantly tug of war in between, is like when I combine super program stuff my live instrumentation, especially like this is the album where I've done it the most with guitar, bass, and drums. It like I'm trying to really embrace the skills, the like inherent qualities of both. Like if there's a rock section, I don't want to quantize all the drum parts, or I don't want to quantize whoever like the guitar and bass parts. that were done by Ben Levin and Cody McCory on bass. I don't want to quantize those because then when it goes into like a hip hop section or like a super like bubblegum pop section, it'll be so tight. And so I want to really get the contrast of those instead of getting them to meet in the middle, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, of course. And I mean, there's all kinds of like different, I guess how you know, how'd you say like there's different waypoints between like those between the two dynamics between like being super unquantized to the point of like sounding like Flying Lotus, and then there's something that you know is way more industrial sounding because it's so perfect. So I feel like between you and Angel Marcloid, that's like you're gonna have a masterclass on that either way. Um, so
Well, I
yeah,
appreciate any. I mean, she's one of my heroes, so even just
yeah,
the fact that
you
I get to work with her so much is amazing.
you both really kicked ass on this one. So we just got a couple ones to go over, and again, these ones are going to kind of hone just a little bit closer to the album and the Kickstarter after a second.
Thank
But
you.
um, have you received any official response to your apology track?
No, thank God.
Yeah, just
I
checking.
love. I'm so glad. Like, I mean, I'm very grateful that it was able to be what it was because I was nervous about it. And I guess for context, I'll just give the quick version
Yeah,
if
whatever you
anyone
want.
wants. On my last album, Tribute Summon, I made a song that was called J.K. Rowling Diss Track, which was really just a song about being trans and trans stuff. But I just named it that because I thought it was like silly. It really does. It has like one or two lines that are actually J.K. Rowling related, but
Right.
it's just a song about my own experiences, blah blah blah. So then, but because it was called that, I guess J.K. Rowling herself found it somehow, tweeted it out, and was like, "I guess they're coming at me with '90s rave vibes," or she said something dumb about how it sounded like '90s rave vibes when it's like the most 2022 it could be, regardless. So then, she shared it, and then I had to like get off the internet because my inbox became just hell, and I had people, my good friends, Ben Levin was one of them, Ben Levin and Jessica Kyan, who's Justice Cow. I had actually gave them control of my social media because like I couldn't do it. It was just too much. And then I made a apology. I made like a right like when that was happening. I made the apology track, so it was just like literally while right like right after she shared it, and my social media got bombed, and I was like off the social media just out of like for my own safety,
Yeah.
and had like you know blah blah blah. Had to like scrub the internet for stuff. I was writing that song, and then yeah, then I released it later that year, and I was like, I really don't want a response. I just want it to be like a bit to show my experience going through that, and also just like to say fuck you to not J.K. Rowling, but just to like the people that just like hold her up and like use and just like hopped on like dogpiled on me because of her.
Right.
Um, but also it was really just for my fans. It was just for like people that really were rooting for me. And yeah, it was. I think it's a really cool song. It's like I like regardless of any of the like the lyrics or the context, because I feel like the context is really important. I just listen to it now and I'm like, I like the sonic like what I made with
Yeah.
the song. So
It does a similar thing too with the title track where there's like sort of like a halfway through shift too, where it's like things amp up too. And I really like how I don't know, it feels very real. Like at the same time as feeling like just like as a pleasing production move, it feels very cathartic. And I hope that it was.
it was. I wanted to make like an anime chorus for that one. Like it goes to like a just halftime. Like like I think I was watching like it was some one of the seasons of Attack on Titan, and it just had like a cool part where it's like super cheesy and goes to just like a halftime big power chords like holding them out, and I was like, I want to do that. and given the context, I was like, it could just be like a really powerful thing. And also, I guess just for the last thing on that song is I think I also just liked I also just felt like after the everything I needed it to be like I needed to come up with something that was like super non-combative, like because my first one wasn't combative, but people took it as combative
Right.
because of the name, because it was J.K. Rowling diss track. Um, it really wasn't directed at her, but so then the second one, I was like, I think I should take a stance that is like really sympathetic and not combative, and just be like sympathetic to people that are afraid of trans people in a way that is not enabling them, but just like it's gonna be fine. You don't got to be afraid of of
Yeah.
people. Like
Yeah, I mean, it really is emotional at the end of that song when you're repeating that. And I think that a lot of people who kind of expect like the full irony might be even a little surprised by that. So I thought that was a really awesome way. It's not even like the last track, it's just like that is one of those things that even as the rest of the album goes, you're like, man, that was intense. So
thank you, I'm glad.
yeah, I really loved it. And then so last but not least, regarding your Kickstarter for the album, what are some of the things you're most excited about? What and also what's been some of the biggest challenges so far?
So the Kickstarter happened because I was working with a record label and they were taking pre-orders for stuff. And then when the record came out, uh, there was an oversight. I won't go too much into specifics,
Right, I forgot. Yeah.
but they had there was an oversight on their part on something that they were supposed to do and hadn't. And then and so it ended up with the album getting pulled from Spotify like 3 days after. Um, and there was no like they just kind of threw their hands up and were like we made a mistake. And they were super sweet about it. And I was like, I get it. Like we're all humans, but like I need to take over for this. And put my album back out because my album was out and then it was not out very quickly, and it was devastating because it had been all I've been working on for the last 2 years. So I started the Kickstarter to try to originally to fulfill the pre-orders that they had taken, and also like do the rest of the album release the way that it was supposed to be done. So it's going good. We got 17 more days. I We're gonna crush it. So I really appreciate anyone who donates. I'm into more specifics. There's you can just get the fade out vinyl or the cassette or the CD straight from there. And there's cool variants and they're gonna look very nice. And the album art is the best album art that's ever been seen. Because I can say that because I didn't
It's
make
pretty
it.
sick.
It's by my friend Kyle, aka Shampoo, and the vinyl's gonna look amazing. The cassettes are gonna look really cool. CDs are gonna look cool. Lyric booklets, all the good stuff.
Yeah, I honestly like can't wait to have that as one of the finals that is fully displayed, like not just in the stack. I want people to be like there's gonna be I just put my vinyl stuff out today, so I have like Black Midi's Hellfire and a couple just like
That is such a
really
cool album
intense.
cover. Yeah,
Yeah, just like some wild looking ones, and I think that one's gonna be perfect up there. Um,
that's so much.
yeah, so okay, I that's it as far as like our planned questions, and we have like just a couple minutes left on the timer thing anyway.
Oh yeah,
But I think we have like a pretty comprehensive roundup here for the album.
cool.
I'm gonna hit the stop recording real fast.
Oh,
Let me
okay,
see
cool.
here.
Fade out now.
Yo, fade out. And then, oh wait, you know what? Just bonus question. Was there a moment where that title hit you as like, this is gonna be the album title?
Yeah. So the album, I originally had an idea for the album that was um a lyric that is in the J.K. Rowling apology track. That is the aggression is off the scale. I've never seen a movement like this, because
Oh my God, yeah.
that was a tweet that some asshole on the internet like shared my once J.K. Rowling shared my J.K. Rowling diss track, they like responded, and that was just the tweet, and it was the aggression is off the scale. I've never seen a movement like this, and I thought that was a really strange and really interesting tweet, and like phrased very interestingly, and so I really liked it. But then as the rest of the year happened, and I made the rest of the album, I was like, oh, this is like way bigger than this flash in the pan internet drama. Um, which is it's all big, all of that stuff is valid, and I stand by it. But and that would have been a cool name, but I think as far as the whole album as itself, Fade Out is a lot. Uh, ooh, it knows I'm holding my hand up. Is a lot cooler, because uh, you know, it's my name, and doubting myself is something I do and something we all do. And then I'm not going to explain the double meaning, but I like that it has
Sure.
a and the last thing on that actually is that the title track is called, the reason it is Fade Out is because I'm in a songwriting club with my friend, run by my friend Justice Cow, Jessica Kyan, who is uh Ben Levin's partner, one of my best friends, just because we were talking about Ben. And so we have a songwriting club, and one of the prompts she gave us was to use our name in the chorus of a song. Um, and so that kind of was how that song started, and that kind of gave me the permission to just be like, oh, I can have a song that's just my name. Um,
Man, that's
and then I was like,
interesting.
wait, what if that was the album?
That's cool.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, you have a really great way with words. We only have a few minutes left, but like I was listening to Tribute Summon, and I can't remember which track it was, but the track about this kind of like a failed hookup track, something about uh get it like not I'm gonna butcher it, but
Wait,
it
say it
made
though.
me laugh out loud. Something about like I'm not into you or I'm getting out of here. It's in one of the faster spoken parts, um, but it's like a pun.
Is it the succubus part?
It is on that song. I think
Dante's
it's like at
is
the
it the
end.
is it the
Dante's
Dante?
Inferno. That's
The
it. Yeah, yeah.
Dante?
That
Okay,
was
cool.
hilarious.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, that fucked me up. I was like, actually, I was at work listening to it and I laughed when I caught that.
I was a little kid, and or not a kid, but I was, growing up in the early 2000s. And so like the having like a spoke, even if it's like a Britney Spears, like speaking over the intro, or like there's no bridge. It's just like someone narrating something over the beat. Like, I'm like, that's the vibe.
I love it.
I
Yeah,
love doing stuff like that.
yeah, you did it perfectly. And then, well, yeah, I can just go on and on about the record. I'll end up probably doing that again in print later. But
Okay.
anyway, thank you again so much for your time, and I'll get this published as soon as possible. And then also, just congratulations on all the hot girl shit.
Thank you.
Of course. Have a good rest of your night. I'll end up probably getting this.